Have you ever felt that disconnect? On one hand, science tells us we're living in this universe of particles and forces, all governed by these cold, impersonal laws. But then, our actual lived reality is a world of color and purpose and feeling. Well, today we're going to dive into how that huge split happened and what it might mean for our understanding of pretty much everything. This right here, this is the heart of the problem, isn't it? Science gives us this incredible picture of a universe run by mathematical laws and physical forces. But the world we live in, the one we experience every single day, is full of vibrant color, music, emotion, and meaning. So how in the world do we reconcile these two things? They feel totally incompatible. And that gap, that's what creates this profound schism in how we see reality today. And you can see that schism laid out pretty clearly here. On one side, you've got the world of science. It's quantitative, it's a machine, just matter and energy moving around without any real purpose. But on the other side, there's the world we actually know. It's rich, it's subjective, and it's absolutely packed with meaning and value and consciousness. This very split is, I think, a huge source of our modern anxiety, that feeling that we're basically ghosts living inside a dead machine. So, how did we end up with this divided reality? It's really important to remember that this split is a pretty new thing, historically speaking. For most of human history, the physical world and the spiritual world were seen as a unified whole. Let's dig into how the scientific revolution started to pull that seamless worldview apart. For thousands of years in the West, this was the basic operating system. God was the single source of everything, both physical reality, the stars in the sky, and moral truth, that sense of right and wrong we feel in our hearts. In that worldview, a sunset wasn't just physics, it was a sign of divine beauty. The whole system was coherent, it was unified. The material and the meaningful were totally integrated. But that was all about to change. And you can see a clear pattern unfold over the centuries. In the 1600s, Newton's laws suggest this self-running clockwork universe. That leads pretty quickly to deism, the idea of God as a divine watchmaker who builds the clock, winds it up, and then just lets it tick. Then, science reveals the unimaginable age of the Earth and the sheer vastness of space, and suddenly a human-like God starts to seem, a bit small. And then the final big blow comes from Darwin. His theory of evolution explained the incredible complexity of life without needing a divine micromanager. With each new discovery, God seemed to get pushed further and further away, deepening that split between a self-sufficient universe and a God of faith. Now, this growing split between science and faith wasn't just an accident. It was actually cemented into our philosophy. We can almost pinpoint let's call it the original sin of modern thought that locked this whole division into place. And it has a name, the Cartesian bifurcation. Okay, so in the 17th century, the philosopher René Descartes takes this split that's been growing and he turns it into a formal system. He basically says reality is made of two completely different kinds of stuff. There's res extensa, the extended thing, which is the world of matter. It's objective, it's public, you can measure it. And then there's res cogitans, the thinking thing, which is the world of the mind. It's subjective, it's private, and it's full of unmeasurable qualities. And with that move, science got its official marching orders. Go study the world of matter. Everything else, feelings, values, consciousness, was exiled to this weird ghost-like realm of the mind. But here's the thing. Descartes didn't just pull this idea out of thin air. The roots of this bifurcation go all the way back to the ancient Greek atomists. The philosopher Democritus, way back around 400 BCE, was arguably the first person to make this great split. He proposed a real world of just colorless atoms and empty space, and then this other, merely conventional world of our subjective experience. Descartes just gave it a modern, rigorous framework. This one quote, "It's like the philosophical seed for the entire problem." This might be the first time in recorded history that a thinker just systematically kicked human experience, all of it, color, taste, feeling, out of the real world. He basically reduced it to a subjective illusion caused by the mechanics of atoms. And that is the foundational move that eventually leads us to our modern, disenchanted cosmos. But this split worldview wasn't going to last forever without a challenge. By the 20th century, a bunch of really brilliant thinkers started to argue that this bifurcation wasn't some profound truth about reality. No, they said, it was a profound philosophical error, one that had led modern thought straight down a dead end. The philosopher and mathematician Alfred Whitehead just captured the consequence of this error perfectly. The bifurcator worldview leaves us with a dead, meaningless universe that, and this is the key part, nobody actually experiences, right? We don't experience electromagnetic frequencies, we experience a vibrant red sunset. By claiming the first one is real and the second one is just an illusion, science created a picture of nature that is just profoundly alienating. Whitehead even gave this error a name, the fallacy of misplaced concreteness. It's a fancy term for a simple mistake. It's when you take your abstract model, the map, and you start to believe that it is the full reality, the territory. The scientific description of a rose as a collection of atoms is a really powerful abstraction for sure, but it isn't the concrete rose itself. The big mistake was to declare the abstraction more real than the concrete experience. The physicist and philosopher Wolfgang Smith sharpens this critique even more with this really crucial distinction. He says we have to separate the corporeal world, that's the world of our senses, rich with real qualities like color and sound, from the physical world, which is the quantitative, mathematical abstraction that physics describes. The great error of modern thought, Smith argues, was to completely invert reality, claiming that this abstract physical model is the real deal, while the rich corporeal world we actually live in is just some subjective illusion happening inside our heads. Okay, so if the split is a philosophical error, how do we fix it? Well, this brings us to the most exciting part of our story, the attempts to heal this divide. And what's amazing is that the clues didn't just come from philosophy. Far from confirming the old mechanical picture, 20th century physics started to reveal a universe that was way more unified, interconnected, and frankly, mysterious than we ever imagined. So our most fundamental description of reality, quantum field theory, just completely turns that old Democritean view of atoms in the void on its head. QFT says the universe isn't made of tiny separate things at all. Instead, the real reality is a unified tapestry of continuous fields that fill all of space and time. What we call an electron isn't a little billiard ball. It's just a localized ripple, an excitation, in this vast underlying electron field. I mean, this vision of a unified, indivisible reality starts to sound an awful lot like some ancient mystical ideas of a non-dual cosmos. And QFT's redefinition of reality goes all the way down, even to empty space. The quantum vacuum isn't a void of nothingness. It's a plenum void, a seething cauldron of energy and potential from which particles are constantly bubbling into existence and then disappearing. This gives us this stunning new metaphor for creation. It reframes the divine not as some distant being who created the world once, but as the ongoing, immanent process of creation itself, the fertile ground of being from which reality is always emerging. The physicist David Bohm gave us another powerful vision to heal this split. He suggested that our perceived world of separate objects, what he called the explicate order, is kind of like the image projected on a movie screen. It unfolds from a deeper, undivided whole that he called the implicate order, which is more like the data on the film itself. In this holographic vision, the entire universe is enfolded within every single part. It's a powerful way to think about the divine as this unmanifest, infinite ground from which all of reality continuously emerges. And then there's an even more radical solution from the philosopher Bernardo Kastrup that just flips the whole problem on its head. What if Descartes got it completely backward? What if matter, the res extensa, isn't fundamental at all? Analytical idealism says that consciousness itself is the ground of all reality. The universe, in this view, is simply the outward appearance of the mental activity of a single universal mind at large, and each of us is like a dissociated alter of that one cosmic mind. Now, even among the people trying to heal the split, there are different paths forward. This table kind of lays out two major alternatives. On one side, you've got Whitehead's process God, which is dynamic, it's evolving with the universe, and it's even described as a fellow sufferer. But on the other side, you've got Smith's more traditionalist God, which is being itself, a timeless, unchanging, transcendent source that sustains the world from a higher plane. So this presents us with a pretty fundamental choice. Is ultimate reality a dynamic process, or is it a timeless being? So despite these different paths, you can see a clear convergence happening. All these new paradigms in both science and philosophy, they're all pointing away from that old fragmented machine and toward a deeply unified cosmos. And they share a remarkable set of common themes. These common threads really paint a new picture of reality. They start with holism, the idea that the universe is one indivisible whole. And that implies interconnectedness, which we see in things like quantum entanglement. This whole isn't static, it's a creative process. The divine isn't separate from it, it's immanent within it. And finally, that means our own consciousness isn't just watching from the sidelines, we are active participants. Together, these themes point to a cosmos that's so much more unified, alive, and mysterious than the old mechanical picture ever allowed for. And what's truly remarkable is that these cutting-edge ideas from modern physics and philosophy are, in a lot of ways, a profound rediscovery of ancient wisdom. The perennial philosophy, this mystical insight that you find at the core of the world's spiritual traditions, has always taught that a single divine reality is the ground of all being. It's almost like our most advanced science is finally starting to provide a new language for this incredibly ancient intuition. An ethical teaching like this one from the Christian Gospels perfectly embodies this unified, non-bifurcated worldview. It just radically dissolves the separation between the divine, which is me, the self, which is you, and the other, the least of these. It's an ethical claim that's built on a deep ontological truth, that at a fundamental level, we really aren't separate. This is exactly the kind of interconnected reality that modern physics is now beginning to describe. You know, we might be standing at the very beginning of a great reintegration, healing this 400-year-old split that has really defined the modern world. As science continues to show us a universe that is more unified and more mysterious than we ever thought, the ultimate question comes back to us. What new concepts of the divine and of our own place in the cosmos are just waiting for us to discover?